And again, welcome to the Bible Christians of God, Brother Jacob. And happy Sabbath to the sons and daughters of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to the poor and needy, those of you born again by the word of God. And today's lesson is entitled The Evening, part one of a full biblical day, or part one of a day according to the Bible. And as you can see to my left and to my right, I have charts here. I intend to, we're going to do our lesson based on this chart. Also, I'd like to inform those of you that are viewing us that on our website, you can go to our handout on BibleChristiansGod.com, and you can actually download all of these scriptures, this whole chart right here. In addition, we're going to go through this calendar day for today in our part one of a day according to the Holy Bible. Again, on our website, if you go to Doc for You and you go to the complete biblical day, according to the Bible, you can download all the little handouts that I'm using here. And quite literally, this lesson is very simple to those of us that have been keeping the Lord's high days, but the purpose of this is to show us how the Bible breaks down a day. How the scriptures, how the Creator in the scriptures, we're going to do a scripture by scripture walk from sundown to sundown, but we're going to break the day in half. And today, we're going to take our time. We're just going to work on the night part. I want my cameraman to zoom in. This is the only part that we're going to deal with today. We're going to deal with the night part. We're going to deal with all the scriptures in here. This is part one. And this over here is part two. So we're only dealing with the night part. This part, which is called night. And we want our Facebook audience to see this too. I want them to see this. Okay? So with that being said, we're going to walk this scripture by scripture. And the first place we're going to start at, based on our chart, we're going to start in Genesis 1:1. Well, God dispenses time. And dispenses time in the matter of establishing a day. And we're going to look at what the components of a day is, first of all. And then we're going to go and we're going to walk this down piece by piece. In this part one, we're going to find out how to count a day. How to count the Lord counts a day. And in part two, we got some very interesting tidbits that most people are not paying attention to. And this stuff is very, very important because years ago, the Lord caused me to put this together. And what triggered this, let me give you the background. What triggered this was we were trying to keep the Day of Atonement. And you had some brothers that felt, well, you got to wait till it's all the way dark for the atonement to start. Well, I looked at this book and I saw that it said at sunset, which is not all the way dark. So we got into a big to-do about it, y'all. And by the time the Lord allowed me to go break this thing down, the brothers that was left standing with understanding, rather the brothers that didn't understand it had walked away. But the brothers that did understand what the Bible was saying about what a day, a complete day is by the scripture, they could see this thing. And it's very simple. We live it every day, y'all. Every day. So it's important when it comes to observing the Lord's feast days that we understand what he means when he said at even. We need to understand how the Lord counts the day. And these are the things I'm going to emphasize in this part one, the evening. Because I kind of I had one dissertation of this, a sermon of this, where I did all of them in one. And I kind of got some feedback on there. They said, man, you were going too fast and we didn't quite get it all. I'm like, well, we're going to slow it down so it's so simple, you can't miss. So we're going to do the evening. So let's go to Genesis 1, and we're going to read verses 1 through 5 and look at what the Lord called the composition of a day. And we're going to pay attention to what the Lord started with. What does a day consist of, and what order does it come? Now, I've heard people say, well, you know, the day don't count unless you're in the daytime. Well, sir, you just said daytime, but we're going to read right here in Genesis 1. It starts with a night. Every time the sun sets, we're going to find out, according to the Creator, that starts another day. That starts another day. Because who made the day in the first place? Man or God? Think about it. And this is a very interesting lesson because from this wise, you know, those of you that read the scripture where it says, if any man be in Christ, behold, he is a new creature, and all things become new. Well, believe you me, if you've never understood what a day really was prior to coming to Christ, when you come into Christ, you find out that the day don't start at midnight. You will find out it does not start at midnight. And it's very interesting, I got to say, you know, every time they come to what they want to call New Year's, and they're doing this countdown at midnight, I'm sitting back and I'm like, wow, they're so late. Even if we were observing it, New Year's in January, it don't start in the middle of the night. That's why it's called midnight. What do mid means? It means in the middle, y'all, in the middle of the night. So a night consists of a beginning and an end, and we're going to look at this. So let's look at what a day consists of first, before we get off into the evening portion. And we're going to break off some key definitions. Like I said, go to our website, BibleChristensOfGod.com, go to Doc for You, go in the handouts there, and you will see a complete day according to the Bible, and you will have all of these verses that's on this chart. And you can literally, you don't have to write anything down, just add your little notes to that piece of documentation that we made available on our website. Again, it's BibleChristensOfGod.com under the Doc for You tab, and the complete day according to the Bible. So read Genesis 1:1. Read something.
In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water.
Now we see clearly here it said darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. So we see darkness is starting now, right? Go ahead.
And God said, let there be light.
Then God said, let there be light. So we see the beginning is darkness, then there is light. Beginning is darkness, then there is light. Keep that in mind as we go through these things, y'all. Go ahead.
And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness.
So now we see he divided the light from the darkness. Okay? So there's the division. Go ahead.
And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night.
Now notice he called the light day, then he called the darkness, he called what? Night. Go ahead.
And the evening and the morning were the first day.
So what consists of a day to God, even a day to us, is an evening and the morning. He called the day light, and the night he called darkness. Very, very simple, y'all. So, like I said, we can follow right along. So let's go to Mark 14:30. Mark 14:30. So a period of night is called evening. Like I said, I literally got this lesson in front of you right now, all the scriptures you need. It's literally right here, y'all. Okay, here we go. Mark 14:30. And you're going to notice during this lesson, you will find out when certain events took place, such as when Jesus died. We're going to also look at how the Bible marks out time in a day, y'all. All these things are included in what we're going to examine concerning the evening. Verse 30. Read.
And Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, that this day, even in this night, before the cock crow twice, thou shalt deny me thrice.
See what consisted of a day and a night, y'all. But what came first? Darkness came first. So that made the evening start out a day. Then came the daytime. We're going to see that as we walk down this thing, y'all. So now let's do ourselves a favor. let's understand some terms before we go on. I want to point out guys' attention to the word evening. Now the word evening, most of us think it means, you know, in the evening after, 3 o'clock in the evening, 4 o'clock in the evening, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, like that. You know, the evening news. That's what we're thinking when we think in the evening. Well, that's partial too, y'all. Evening, when the sun is starting to go down in the evening, that's an action we're describing. So the definition of evening, let me read this to you. Definition of an evening is the close of a day or the closing of a day as an adjective. The day's closing out and the sun is evening. It's an action that we're describing. In the evening, as the sun is going down, it's evening itself out to us, which takes us to our next key definition, which is even, meaning on the same level or line. In other words, like my arm is even with me to my eyesight. When the sun is even with you, that's when at evening means. It's even with you. Very simple things, but a lot of people don't have the knowledge or haven't actually looked into this thing to understand when the book say at even. So when the sun is at even, you still see light of a day, but what day is it? We'll find out it's the closing of a day, and it's the beginning of night. Also, I want to go into the term also dark. The word dark means without light. And I always do the illustration of, to bring about the understanding of the word darkness. See, if you were to do this, if you were to go into a closet that actually has no light in it whatsoever, and you close the door, you are in the dark. Now, if you were to light a flashlight or even something as simple as a little cigarette lighter, now you're surrounded with darkness. Because dark means the absence of light, and darkness means, right here, the lightness of dark or a degree of dark. So dark comes in certain degrees, y'all, and it increases after the sun is even with you. That's why it's called the beginning of a night, because everybody always say we have a midnight, which means the middle of night. And the night has a beginning and has an end. Okay? So now another key term we need to understand is dawn. The word dawn means the beginning of anything. Okay? And in this context of talking about a day, you have the beginning of night, and you have the beginning of nighttime, and you have the beginning of the daytime, which is also called the morning. Another key word, and these are dictionary terms you can find in the dictionary. Key supporting terms is the twilight. Write this down, twilight. It's actually on the little sheet you get. Like I said, you practically don't have to write anything. Literally, you're looking at my lesson if you have gone by now and printed out this worksheet. Twilight is the light before a sunrise and after sunset. That's what a twilight is, okay? Now, a sunrise is the next key term to understand is sunrise and sunset occurs when the geometric zenith distance of the center of the sun is at a 90-degree angle. In other words, it's straight even with you. That's when the sun is set. It is set on the horizon. That ends the day. We're going to find that out. Or it's horizontal to your location. Another word, the morning. The early part of daytime. Okay, we're going to look at that. We're going to get into that when we get into part 2. Now, the word evening consists of 2 parts. It's the close of the day. We all know about that part, y'all. But it's also called the start of the night. And what divides the evening is when that sun sets. Pow. And we're going to see that according to the scriptures as we walk these scriptures. Now, let me get into a little detail on this poster right here. Cameraman, I need you to zoom in. What I've done is, this is based on an equal 12-hour day and a 12-hour night. Now, we know the creation is living, so this thing fluctuates throughout the season. Like, we just went past the shortest day of the year. So now I want you to zoom in and look at these numbers. Zoom in and look at these numbers, okay? If you notice, I got 1, 2, hold on. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This number here is present because when the day is equal to the night, you have a complete number of 3 watches. We're going to look at what a watch is. For every 3 hours, there is a watch. That's what these little triangles mean. Okay? Now, what I've done here is show you on the bottom next line that has these numbers. This is the numbers that we're familiar with when we start saying 6 o'clock in the evening, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 midnight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. Now, I want to point out that PM is the AM and PM meaning switches. Now at night, PM represents before midnight. Everybody knows, I'm not telling y'all something that I make up philosophy. We all know this very simple lesson now. But after midnight, it becomes AM because it means after meridian, meaning after the middle. So even in nature, we see clearly that the night has a beginning and it has an end. Also, I want to point out that when we look at these watches, 1, 2, 3, 4, the Bible breaks these things down, and we're going to look at them clearly in Scripture. So, like I said, each one of these equal an hour so that we can have reference to the Scriptures. Okay. Now what we want to do, let's go and look that we got our terms and definitions out of the way. Let's do ourselves a favor and let's look at Sunday. Let's look at Leviticus 22 and verse 7. Leviticus 22 and verse 7. This is where we're going to start right here and we're going to work our way down. Oh, I'm leaving out a verse, y'all. I'm sorry. Let's go to Numbers 28 and verse 1. Numbers 28 and verse 1. I'm going to sprinkle a few little verses you can add to your worksheet. Numbers 28 and verse 1. Those of you that are joining us via the teleconference call room, if you don't have a chart, I suggest you go print it off. If you're in the teleconference call room, it's imperative that you write down your scriptures in the order that I'm giving them to you, and I'm going to try to help you out if you're in the conference call room and you, for whatever reason, can't get to our handout. But we're going to start, like I said, we're trying to break down the components of a day. So to get right to it, we're going to go to Numbers 28 and verse, let's go 28 and 3. Numbers 28 and 3. You got it, get an amen. Amen. Read.
And thou shalt say unto them, there is an offering made by fire, which ye shall offer unto the Lord. 2 lambs of the first year without spot day by day.
Notice, he said 2 lambs of the first year without spot. He going day by day. Now watch what makes up day by day, y'all. Go ahead. Go ahead.
For a continual burnt offering. The one lamb shalt thou offer in the morning, and the other lamb shalt thou offer at evening.
See, notice it says, one lamb shalt thou offer in the morning, and the other lamb thou shalt offer at evening. But in the beginning, he started with evening, didn't he? So that's why the evening marks the next day, or the evening marks the beginning of a day, and it's divided by a morning, y'all. So we're going to get into that real solid by going now to Leviticus 22 and verse 7. This is where we at. Leviticus 22 and verse 7. We're breaking down the evening, the beginning of night. What constitutes the start of the night? because this is very important when it comes to observing the Lord's feast days, y'all. He started all the feast days at even. All the Lord's high days start at even. So we must understand clearly when this thing starts. So Leviticus 22 and verse 7. Read.
And when the sun is down.
Whoa, and when the sun is what?
Down.
When the sun is down, go ahead.
He shall be clean, and shall afterward eat of the holy things, because it is his food.
Now notice a change happens, y'all, at sundown. Before he couldn't do that, but when the sun is down, he shall be clean, which means before the sun was down, he was what? Unclean. So the sun going down marks a change. And it said, and you know what? I'm sorry, I should have read that verse 6. Start at verse 6 and read into that.
The soul which hath touched any such shall be unclean until evening.
Until evening. Okay, remember we read, hey, at morning and at evening, right? Go ahead.
And shall not eat of the holy things unless he wash his flesh with water. And when the sun is down, he shall be clean, and shall afterward eat of the holy things, because it is his food. So the book just defined to us what sundown means. It means at what? Even. Flat out. Now let's do ourselves a favor. Let's go to Mark 1:32. All that's in this first part at sundown. Mark 1:32. Mark 1:32. When you get it, read. And at even.
Oh, and when at even, when the sun is down, go ahead.
When the sun did set.
Oh, which means the sunset. So it's important when you observe the Lord's feast or when we are observing the Sabbath. At evening, you look for the sunset, what? Times. Or when the sun is what? Down. That all means the same. Sun down, sun set, at even. At even, y'all. Now look, let's look how this period starts out and go to Joshua 10:26. Joshua 10:26. Joshua 10:26. Joshua 10:26, y'all. Very important that we know at sunset means sundown or at even. Okay? Joshua 10 and verse 26. Go ahead.
And afterward Joshua smote them and slew them and hanged them on 5 trees. And they were hanging upon the trees until the evening. And it came to pass at the time of the going down of the sun that Joshua commanded, and they took them down off the trees and cast them into the cave wherein they had been hid, and laid great stones in the cave mouth, which remain until this very day. So we see again there's a change in when the sun go down at sunset, at sundown. Joshua executed. Now remember, evening precedes the sundown. That's the one we all know about, in the evening, 3 p.m. in the evening, the evening news, okay? So that's because the sun is going down, and we said, and at the time of the going down of the sun, boom, the day changed. So let's go now to Ezekiel 12:1. See what else comes into play here, y'all. Ezekiel 12:1. Because the Lord had given Ezekiel specific instructions, and he had to follow it to the T, and he kind of conducts him through terms that we need to be familiar with,
and understanding how the Bible lays out a complete day. So we in Ezekiel 12, and let's start at verse 1. Ezekiel 12 and verse 1.
The word of the Lord also came unto me, saying, Son of man, thou dwellest in the midst of a rebellious house, which have eyes to see, and see not. They have ears to hear, and hear not, for they are a rebellious house.
Look, and we ain't gonna go into that, but we're going here for something else. Go ahead.
Therefore, thou son of man, prepare thee stuff for removing, and remove by day in their sight. And thou shalt remove from thy place to another place in their sight. It may be they will consider, though they be rebellious house. Then shalt thou bring forth thy stuff by day in their sight, as stuff for removing, and thou shalt go forth at even in their sight.
So we understand at sundown in their sight. So you got the day, and then when the sun is down, or when the sun is set, at even, he said, you shall go forth in their sight. Go ahead.
As they that go forth into captivity, dig thou through the wall in their sight, and carry out thereby. And their sight shall bear it upon
Shalt thou bear
it. In their sight shalt thou bear it upon thy shoulders, and carry it forth in the twilight.
Oh, wait a minute. And carry it forth in the what? The twilight. Now, there is only one time in a day that you have a twilight, and it's only after the sun is set or when the sun is down, which we need to go and read what rules the night, okay, and what rules the day. Let's go to Psalms 136. Hold that spot, and we're going to go to Psalms 136. Psalms 136 and 9. And we're going to start at verse 9. Let's read that, because we're only dealing with the evening part. Go ahead.
The moon and stars to rule by night.
No, go ahead. Finish it.
But for his mercy endureth forever.
So the moon and the stars rule by night, y'all. Okay? So now let's go to Job. I'm going to go to Job 3 and 9. Watch what appears after the sun goes down. Because you can't see stars in the daytime. The sun rules the day. That's the only light that dominates the day. Completely dominates. But at night, you have the moon and the stars. Read that. Job 3 and 9.
Job 3 and 9? Let the stars of the twilight therefore be dark. Thereof be dark.
See, the only time you're going to get stars is in the night, y'all. Like you said, let the moon and the stars rule the what? Rule the night. Go ahead and finish that.
Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day.
So now let it see the dawning of the day. So the only time you have twilights is right after sunset, and right before you have the sun come up, you see the stars in the midst of a daylight, because twilight means two. So you see in the light of the coming day, and you see in the light of the previous day as it fades out. That's why it's called the stars of the twilight. But let's nail this down a little further. Let's go to Genesis 1 and 14. Genesis 1 and 14. To further nail this again. there. I'm going to go 1 and 14. Genesis 1 and 14. Genesis 1 and 14. Read.
And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night.
See, again, day and night. Now we're talking about on earth, y'all. Go ahead.
And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years.
Mm-hmm.
And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so.
Yes, sir.
And God made 2 great lights.
Now these 2 great lights are the sun and the moon. The sun even has a calendar on it, and the moon has a calendar on it. Okay? Go ahead.
And God made 2 great lights. The great light to rule the day.
So the greater light to rule the what? The day. All of us that's on this side of the planet, we clearly see one great light ruling the day. Go ahead.
And lesser light to rule the night.
Yes, sir.
He made the stars also.
See, and he made the what? He made the lesser light to rule the night, and he made the stars also. Go ahead.
And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the 4th day.
See, there we go. The evening and the morning. They go the pattern that the Lord got laid out. Evening comes first, and then you have the day. And you have the stars rule the night, and you have the greater light to rule the day. So in the twilight is when you have these stars. In the beginning of the night. Again, that's why we have midnight. That's why we have midnight, y'all. I want to point out midnight on this thing right quick. Let's go to the chart. Cameraman, I want you to point this out. Focus on this. That's why you have midnight. That's why we have PM, and that's why we have AM. Headed before we get to the mid, and then AM after we are past the mid. Now the sun is on its way back up once it goes past midnight. And once we reach the complete point of darkness, we're going to look at that. But the sun is coming back up, and we're waiting for it. That's why you get a little light, but you still have stars right before the sun come up. And you can actually see this thing playing out and play out in the creation. If you were to sit, go and find out what time it is for sunset tonight, and watch and sit on the horizon. Get a nice little high spot. Excuse me. Watch, and you can even see the moon. You can see the moon very, very, very faint. But as soon as that sun set here, pop, it's almost like the Lord put a little light switch. Boom! The moon gets brighter, and then you start seeing the twilight, the stars of the twilight. It starts showing up. You're like, wow. Until darkness has taken over the sky. Now, I also want to point out, before we continue, I want to show you that these watches, there's a watch that starts out every section of a day. There's 4 in our illustration, in our example, of 4 watches that are posted. So what I want to do now is let's go to Lamentations 2:19. Lamentations 2:19. Because we start out the night. It starts out with a twilight, it starts out with a sunset, sundown, and also it starts out with a watch. So we're going to Lamentations 2:19. That's right after the book of Jeremiah. Lamentations 2:19. Lamentations 2:19. And Lamentations 2:19. Got it? Read.
Arise, arise, cry out in the night.
No, arise, cry out in the night. Go ahead.
In the beginning of the watches, pour out thine heart like water before the face of the Lord. Lift up thy hands toward him for the life of thy young children, that faint for hunger in the top of every street.
See, the beginning of the watches. Now, there's 4 of them when you have equal day and equal night. Now, we just went through a time period of a short day. There's watches when there's equal watches when there's equal day. Equal hours of day and night. That's what I have on this illustration. Right here, that's what I have on this piece of paper. 12 days and 12 hours for the day and 12 hours for the night. Just zoom in on that so you can get a good look on it. That's why I had that like that. So again, our illustration is an equal day and an equal night. And you have 4 watches. You have 4 watches that make up the night when it's equal 12 hours, and you have the same number of watches on the daytime. These are broken down 3 hours apiece, y'all. 3 hours. Let's pursue this a little further. Let's go to Matthew's 14th chapter and verse 25. Matthew's 14 and 25. Now here we see that there's a 4th watch. 4th watch. Now watch this, which is early in the morning, almost right before sunset. Let's read. Let's read.
In the 4th watch of the night, in the night Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea.
So now when you understand what the 4th watch of the night is, you see. Yeah, let's zoom in on here. You see the time period that Jesus did this act. It was approximately somewhere between 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. Or in the 4th. This is the last watch of the night, right before the sun is rising. So Jesus did this early in the morning, y'all. Heading into the twilight. Okay? So, and he said the 4th watch, which means there's a 3rd, there's a 2nd, and there's a 1st watch of the night. 1, 2, 3, 4 watches in the night. Okay? So now, let's go to Luke 12 and 37. Luke 12 and 37. Luke 12 and 37. Read.
Blessed are those servants whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find watching. Really I say unto you, that he shall gird himself and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them.
See, look, this watch he's talking about as in being alert and watching, okay? Now we're going to get to the one that we're talking about with these 4 watches. Watch how Jesus break this down. Go ahead.
If he should come in the 2nd watch.
Oh, wait a minute. So if he comes in the 2nd watch, right? See there? That's the 2nd watch. Go ahead.
Or come in the 3rd watch.
Oh, or come in the 3rd watch. See that? So there's a 2nd watch and the 3rd watch. We read there's a 4th watch. And we know the beginning means 1. That's why even in the morning goes to what? First day. So the beginning means 1. So you have a beginning watch. So like we see clearly here, if he should come in the 2nd watch, which is approximately somewhere between 10 to midnight, then or come in the 3rd watch, which is just after midnight, maybe 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning. It's the 3rd watch. That's what he said. Maybe and find so blessed are those servants. So being alert even while you're in your sleep. That's what the Lord is requiring. Okay? So, but the point here is there are 4 watches for the night. So if there's 4 watches for the night, then there's 4 watches for the what? Daytime, y'all. Amen. Now, because of the way the earth rotates, I want to go ahead and point out over here. Point over here. Cameraman, please. Because of the rotation, let's get our Facebook audience. Yeah, Brandon. Because of the rotation of the earth, like we just went through, sometimes the earth gets to this point where we have what's called the shortest day of the longest day, longest nights of the year. Now let me point this out by bringing this up. See that? Okay, are we? Okay, so now let's go to Joshua 7 and 19. Because for this time of year, we just went through a middle watch. Joshua 7 and 19. The Bible is a living document, y'all. It is alive. That's why it's called the Word of God. The living Word of God. It is alive. It really is. Judges. Make sure I get it right. Judges. Judges 7:19. Judges 7 and 19. So we just went through that time of year. The time of year, rather, when you have a middle watch. Judges 7 and 19. Judges 7 and 19. When you get it, son, read.
So Gideon and the 100 men that were with him came to the outside of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch.
Whoa, in the beginning of the middle watch. So we know this wasn't a time during the summer, or rather it could have been in the middle of the summer, because just as if the middle watch swings, the day switches over in the wintertime. Make sure this is one. I want to make sure I get the right one here. Because the day it swaps over, y'all. Let me make sure I get it right. Again, all these I have on my printout on the website. You can print it out and you can actually pull this stuff up, and the scripture is right there. Now this is one for the this is one for the middle, for the longest day of the year. But I have one that's for the longest night of the year. And that's when you get a middle watch. That's why I say the judges say, read that again.
So Gideon and the 100 men that were with him came upon the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch. Right, so now that could be in the middle of the day, because that's the only time during this time of year when you get a middle watch in the daytime or a middle watch in the nighttime, because it shrinks down to 3 watches. Like we just went through the shortest day of the year, which had the longest night, whereas the reverse happens in summer, where you have the longest days and the shortest nights. Those are the only times you have a middle watch, okay? Middle watch. So let's keep it going. Let's go now to, I want to go and point out, let's go to Nehemiah 4 and 21. Because we're going to walk this twilight into the darkness. We headed toward the middle of the night. So we're going to go to Nehemiah 4:21. Nehemiah 4 and 21. And then we're going to look at some events that occur, and the timing of them is real critical when you understand how the Bible breaks down a day. Nehemiah 4th chapter
and verse 1. But this is during the time period that Nehemiah was working on the temple. And watch this, y'all. This is talking about the stars in the twilight. Now watch how he breaks this thing down. He's taking it from a daytime, but he's walking into the night. So read verse 21. Read.
Likewise, at the same time said I unto the people, let everyone with his servant lodge within Jerusalem.
Oh, no, you had 21?
Oh, sorry, I'm not 22. So we labored in the work, and half of them held the spears from rising of the morning.
So we got the rising of the morning. That means that's the start of the daytime. Go ahead.
Till the stars appeared.
When do the stars appear, y'all? At the twilight, when the sun is down. At sun what? Sunset. That's when you get a twilight, y'all. So all of that constitutes the start of a night. So now let's work our way to the middle of the night, to midnight. Let's go now to Exodus. Well, let's go to another example of a twilight. Let's go to 1 Samuel 30 and 17. 1 Samuel 30 and 17. I won't necessarily use all of these scriptures, but I've given enough here where you can pick and choose which ones, should you want to show someone how you understand the biblical day to be. And this document can be used as a resource for the scriptures that actually walk a day script by script, verse by verse. So 1 Samuel 30 and 17. Again, we're just going for timing purposes. We're dealing with a biblical day. We're dealing with the timing of an event and the description thereof. So right here is 1 Samuel 30 and verse 17. And this shows you how long David did some killing, boy. Man. See, that's what happens when you pay attention to the time segments that the Bible points out, and it gives you a real clear idea how long certain events happen or the duration thereof in time, okay? So read that. 1 Samuel 30 and 17. Read.
And David smote them from the twilight even until the evening of the next day.
Wow, it said from the twilight evening even until the evening of the next day. So he was doing some killing all during the day, y'all. Because the twilight started one day until the evening of the what? The next day. So he, for a whole day, he did some smoking, y'all. And what?
And there escaped not a man of them.
So that tell you he was hunting them down all night long and all day long until the evening of the next day. Go ahead.
Save 400 young men, which rode upon camels and fled. And David.
So that's good. That's good. That's good. So he did some hunting down, y'all. So now look, let's do some back in the book. Now let's look at midnight. Let's go to midnight on this, y'all. Let's go to Exodus 12 and 29. Exodus 12 and 29. And let's watch when the event of the Passover actually took place. When did the Lord execute the Passover? And we're talking about the literal killing of the firstborn that was in Egypt inside of the first Passover. When did he actually execute it? So, read Exodus 12 and 29. Read.
And it came to pass that at midnight.
Whoa, he said then it came to pass at what? At midnight. The day already started, y'all. So the middle of the night, we in full bloom. That's why I say when people count down to, when they want to celebrate what they want to call a New Year. And they tell me Happy New Year. I'm like, wow, dude. Even if we were observing that, y'all way late. Approximately, I would say, because it's in the wintertime, you'll probably be 3 hours late. 3 hours. No, I'm talking about 9 hours. No, 5 hours late. 6 hours late. Sorry, about 6 hours late. Because the sun sets real early and the nights are real long. Okay. So now at midnight, finish that verse.
The Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne until the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle.
Now let's go to Acts 27:27. Acts 27:27. My bad, Acts 16:25. My bad, Acts 16:25. I got it right here. Okay, read. 16 and 25.
And at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto God, and the prisoners heard them.
Now, notice he says at midnight. See, when you look at the time markings and you look at this biblical chart, or this, you see when the Lord had his servants doing what they were doing and when they were doing these things. It's almost like if you really wanted to write out a skit or a play, or they would do a movie, the Lord actually give you the guidance to when to do these things. This event occurred at midnight. Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto God, and the prisoners heard them. So they were singing praises at midnight, y'all, and most of us, okay? So I'm just letting you know how it was in the early church. Or as we look through a biblical day, we see when these events were occurring. So now let's go to Judges 16:3. Judges 16:3. Judges 16 and verse 3. Read.
And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight,
Yes, sir.
and took the doors of the gate of the city and the 2 posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of an hill that is before Hebron.
So we see this event occurred when? At midnight. He laid till midnight, in the middle of the night, after the sunset, obviously, because the night has a what? A beginning, a middle, and an end. Now let's take a look at counting the day, y'all. I'm gonna bring this in the bread right quick. I bring this over here. So, if we're going to count, and I'm going to go to Leviticus 23rd chapter and set this up. Leviticus 23 to 20 and 32. Okay, set this up this way. Leviticus 23 and 32. Can you give us something to read?
And it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even. From even unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbath.
Now notice in this verse, it says, in the 9th day, meaning we passed the sunset that brought you the 9th day, and he said, in the 9th day of the month at even, meaning at what? Sundown, at sunset. From what? From sunset until what? Sunset. So we see from even to even. So this is how we count a day. So soon as that sun go down, that's day 1. Second time the sun go down, that's day 2. See how you got an evening, so you go even to even. So every time the sun goes down, you start a day. So this will be day 1. You go to the next evening, that's day 2. So when we read from even to even, that's what? 1 day. That's why the Day of Atonement is the 10th day of the 7th month. That's the constitutional day. So now how we count an evening is we go from evening to evening, so that's day 2. Then the next evening will be day 3. Then you have sunrise. Then we go to the next evening, that will be day 4. Then we have a sunrise. And then we come to the next sunset, that will be day 5. Then we have a sunrise. Then the next night comes. So every time a night comes, we're changing over days, y'all. That's why, let's back up in the same chapter and read Leviticus 23 and verse 5. Read that.
In the 14th day of the first month, at evening.
Notice this time it said at even, meaning at what? At sundown. So we count from sundown to sundown to sundown to change over a day. Now when we read in the 9th day at evening, let's go see the example of that in the New Testament. Let's go to Matthew 28 and 1. Because it mentions the 4 days before it ended to bring us to the 10th day. It says in the 9th day. So what comes after number 9? Everybody knows the Day of Atonement is on what day? The 10th day of the month. But watch this same example in Matthew 28 chapter and verse 1. Because after the Sabbath day comes the what? The first day of the week. But watch this. When the sun goes down, it ends a day, the prior day. So watch this. Read this. Matthew 28 and verse 1. Matthew 28 and verse 1. Because every time the sun goes down, it ends the prior day. Like the end of the 9th day, the sundown brings the what? The 10th day. And the end of the Sabbath day gives us the what? The first day of the week. So we're finna see that right here. Matthew 28 and verse 1. Read.
And the end of the Sabbath.
So now in the end, that means the sun done went down because it's over. Because when the sun goes down, the prior day ends. So we are in the end of the Sabbath day right here. I'll go right here. We're in the end of the Sabbath day. Go ahead.
As it began to dawn toward the first day of the week.
See, now it's coming to the first day of the week. Because when you go into the nighttime, you ended the day prior, and guess what? You're going to the first day of the week. Because the night ends the prior day. And it begins the complete cycle of a day. But we're going to get to this daytime now. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. But I want to focus on this entire period right here. This is an evening, or it's also called the night. And it's also called, and we're in the midnight right now. So let's look at this and solidify this a little more. Let's go, I'm going to go to Psalm 63 and 6. Because the watches that compose or make up at night define that time period. In our case again, we're using an even day of 12 hours of daylight, which gives us a 12 hours of night. So we're going to Psalm 63 and verse 6. Psalm 63 and verse 6. Psalm 63 and verse 6. You get some read.
When I remember thee upon my bed.
And remember, he said, when I remember thee upon my bed, go ahead.
and meditate on thee in the night watches.
Oh, and meditate on thee in the what? In the night watches, because that's when most of us, I ain't saying everybody, but the majority of us go to bed in the what? In the night. That's why you got what's called the night watch. So the night watches consist of the night period. So there are 4 of them in our illustration. Again, I've showed you that it varies because the earth rotates, and sometimes you get to a middle watch, like we just passed in this time, December 21st, we're on December, 22nd today? Yeah, so we just coming out of a middle watch. So there's a middle watch event going on right about now. So we should still be in one because of the length and the longness, how long the daytime is, the nighttime is right now, y'all. So the night watches is really long nowadays, y'all, because the way the earth is rotating around the sun. Okay, so now let's continue on. Let's continue on now. Let's go to, I want to go to Matthew's 25th chapter and verse 6. Matthew 25 and verse 6. Now, in this parable, the Lord is showing you, because most people, boy, I'm getting countrified down here in Texas. Oh my God. Hey, y'all, they got him a city man. So, anyway, move right along to my people. Anyway, peoples. Let's start at Matthew 25 and 6. Where this Texas lifestyle is starting to get to me. No. Anyway. Let's read this. Matthew 25 and verse 6. Because most people are asleep at night. I thought the Lord picked this time period to bring forth this parable. Start at verse 5 for background's sake and read down to verse 6. Read.
While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept.
Because most of us sleep in the night. Okay, go ahead.
And at midnight there was a cry, made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him.
Now you know how tired some of us be, y'all, in the middle, like, oh man, oh bother me. Look, the Lord setting this up. So if we pay attention to at midnight, when most people is tired, he's saying, look, go ye out to meet him. How many going to answer the call? That's why the Lord chose this term midnight right here. Because most of us is asleep. And literally, most of us is asleep. But that's another lesson, y'all. We ain't going to get up to that sleep, y'all, okay? But at midnight. So now we're going to cross over, and I want to go to Psalms 104 and 20. Because the nighttime represents the period called darkness. Remember, we call the darkness, we call night. So we're going to go to Psalms 104 and 20. Psalms 104 and 20. Psalms 104 and 20. Go ahead.
Thou makest darkness, and it is night.
See, darkness, it is night. So this whole time period of darkness, because they have the beginning and the end and the middle, is called what? Night. So you have a time period that goes, in our case again, equal days and equal nights, consisting of 4 watches, and they break down 4 goes into 12. How many times, y'all? 3. Okay, so each watch starts out with 3 hours, but then it starts to expand to the point where you get a middle watch, okay? In this case, when we're here for the longest day of the year, you get a middle watch in the night, okay? So now, and then you get a third watch that's dead in the center of the day. So there's a middle watch that comes up in the day, and then there's a middle watch that comes up in the night, okay? So now let's keep it pushing. Let's keep it pushing. Let's go to our next verse. Let's go to Acts 27 and 33. Acts 27 and 33. That's what we want to do. Now watch this, y'all. Acts 27 and 33. Read.
And while the day was coming on, Paul besought them all to take meat, saying, This day is the 14th day that ye have tarried and continued fasting, having taken nothing. Wherefore I pray you to take some meat, for this is for your health. For there shall not an hair fall from the head of any of you. And when he had thus spoken, he took bread and gave thanks to God in the presence of them all. And when he had broken it, he began to eat. Then were they all of good cheer, and they also took some meat. And we were in all in the ship 216 souls.
So you have all these souls in the ship, y'all. We're going to find out. And then we're going to see. Now he said, and while the day was coming on, go ahead.
And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and cast out the wheat into the sea. And when it was day, they knew not the land.
Oh, wait a minute. And when it was what? Day. So now they're coming out of darkness, and when it was day, they knew not the land. It's almost like you in a ship, you go on and you like, all right, the day is coming on. You know, it's real foggy early in the morning. Some of us have been out early in the morning, and imagine being on water now, and you come in and the day is coming on, and then it said, and when it was day, they knew not the land, but what?
But they discovered a certain creek with the shore, into which they were minded, if it were possible, to thrust in the ship. And when they had taken up the anchors, they committed themselves unto the sea, and loosened the rudder bands, and hoist of the mainsail to the wind, and made toward shore.
Okay, that's good. We don't want to get into all the meats of the story. We're just looking at the timing of the story. So this is they're coming out of the night, and they're headed toward the day. When it was day. Let's look at another example of this activity or event. Let's go to Joshua 6 and 15. Joshua 6 and 15. I'm going to take it right up to just about sunrise, and then we're going to end it there, though. Joshua 6 and 15. Now this event here is when they was blowing the trumpet, y'all. And you see, during this time period, it's called the dawning of. We headed into the daytime. Like I said, I'm not going to focus on this part. This is going to be part 2. But it's dawning of the day, meaning the day is starting to come. The day part of this complete day is starting to come into sight, y'all. So watch this, y'all. Joshua 6 and 15. Read.
And it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day.
So now the beginning of the daylight is starting to rise up. The twilight is coming in. They're starting to see some light. And the dawn is heading into the day. Go ahead.
And compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. That's
all we come here for, y'all, so that we see this event is occurring early in the morning, y'all. The dawning toward the day. Let's go and look at another event that leads us to that. Let's go to St. John 20 and 1. St. John 20 chapter and verse 1. Again, like I said, you can go on our website, BibleQuestionToGod.com, and you can literally print this lesson out. I'm just following what's pretty much what's printed on there with a few little added extra little tidbits on there, but you can write them in. St. John 20 and verse 1. Now we got to remember, the sun had already dropped for the first day of the week, in the end of the Sabbath, okay? So we're already in the nighttime, okay? Now watch what it says here. St. John 20 and verse 1. Read.
The first day of the week.
So now we didn't enter into the first day of the week because we done passed the Sabbath day, which is the seventh day of the week. We read that earlier. The end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week. This is also called what? The first day of the week, flat out. Go ahead.
The first day of the week comes with Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark.
So she came real early. It was yet what? Dark. So the first day of the week, we clearly see we are in the nighttime part, which is also called the end of the Sabbath. So she came while it was yet dark. Go ahead.
Unto this sepulchre. And it seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Then she runneth and cometh to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and said unto them, They have taken away the Lord out of the sepulchre, and we know not where they have laid him. Oh, so he wasn't even there for a sunrise service? Jesus wasn't even, it was night and he was gone. Jesus was gone before the sun set for the first day of the week. Okay, that's along the lines of learning things. We're understanding when we look in the Bible, how the Bible breaks down a day. In this first day of the week, Jesus was not there. Mary Magdalene came while it was yet more dark. So she made that looked like that might have been like in the second watch, no, the third watch. Okay? So she came and she said, He is not here. We know not where they have laid him. So now, let's do ourselves a favor and let's do this. Let's go to, I want to go to Acts. I'm sorry, let's go to, wait a minute. Did I get that right? Should I get that right? Let's go to Exodus 14 and 24. Because I'm bringing it right to the morning. Exodus 14 and 24. And this is where we're going to pick it up from next week. Again, this is just part 1. So we're showing how a evening ends. Exodus 14 and verse 24. How the night ends. It ends with the twilight. It starts with the twilight. I'm going to recap that. So Exodus 14 and verse 24. Because see, this is when the Lord had Israel being pursued by the Egyptians. And watch this, y'all. Watch what happens in verse 24. Read. And it came to pass that in the morning watch the Lord looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians. Now,
that's all we need right there. In the morning watch, like I said, there's night watches, and then in the morning watch. So the morning watch is the very first watch that comes after the sun is risen. So early in the morning, part of the day, possibly anywhere between 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, because this was during the time, this also reflects during the time in which the Egyptians were chasing Israel. Okay, y'all? Because Israel fled out of Egypt, or rather they were delivered on the Passover. They left Egypt during the same time period when day and night were pretty darn close to 12 hours a day, y'all. Okay? So that's why it's so important to understand this. So now, let's go to our one last scripture. Let's go to Psalms. I'm going to go to Psalms 136. Let's go back there. And this time we're going to start at verse 7. Psalms 136. And look at the components, and then we're going to just sum up what we have here for the night part. Psalms 136, and start at verse 7. Read.
To him that made great lights, for his mercy endureth forever.
What are those great lights? I have it here on the illustration, the moon and the sun. Okay, go ahead.
The sun to rule by day.
So that's why we go in our second part. We're going to show you what the sun is ruling over and how we break down the closeout of a day. Go ahead.
For his mercy endures forever. The moon and stars to rule by night.
Now he gave the moon and the what? Stars to rule by what? Night. And every night when that sun, when it comes in, when the night comes in, it starts with a sundown, a sunset, starts with a twilight, which opens up and brings us into the darkness, which brings us to what? Midnight, because as the sun fades away, it gets darker and darker, till total darkness takes over. And if it's not a full moon, or if you have a new moon, like this little wolf I got howling here in this picture here, if it was a new moon, you wouldn't even see it. So with the moon ruling the night, that's what we just covered, and it walks us all the way till we get to the twilight star, and then we end up coming to the what? The morning watches. So that's what I want to leave it at right now in doing part 1, the evening, part 1 of a complete biblical day, part 1. We're going to get to part 2 next week, and we're going to take it from the sunrise, from the rising of the sun, to the going down thereof in part 2. So I hope you got some understanding about a biblical day and what the evening, which is the night, having a midnight, having darkness, having twilight, and the moon and the stars rule this time period that is called the evening. Part 1. Okay? That concludes this lesson of a complete biblical day, part 1. So like I said, hey, go online and print it out, and you can have your own thing to make your notes in, and notes for each scripture that you want to add, and then you can show people, and we will have the longest day and the longest night in there. So with that being said, I would like for you to join us immediately following this in our question and answer room at a 641-715-3580. Pin number 972-342#. If you have any questions concerning this lesson or anything, we always have an open forum. We always like questions. You got a problem with anything that's been taught here by me, hey, that is the time that we open up the floor, open forum. Anybody got a problem with whatever I taught? Hey, we can go, you didn't understand it. It ain't necessarily got to be a problem. It could be, hey, to get more understanding. Hey, we open up the floor. And then following us, approximately 3:30 Central Time, we have Time to Work coming from our class out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Brother Darren, excellent teacher, and we'd like for you to join us at that time, 1:30 Pacific Time and 3:30 Central Time. The next lesson will be a Time to Work. Also, we're going to put a prayer for Brother Mike McGuire, had a death in the family. Also, we want to make mention that we have our career planning coming up on January 3rd and the 4th at 2 p.m. The online link will be in the comments. Also, I want to promote that we got coming up for January, Welcome to the War Zone, the Spiritual Warfare Seminar. The whole month is going to be a seminar. Every lesson during the Sabbaths for January, and to include our question and answers, we are going in, clean in on spiritual warfare, because believe it or not, folks, we are living in a war zone for your very eternal life. Every day. So it's very important, and we want to promote it, and we want to get this thing known, get this thing out there. So join us. Put us on your calendar for January, because it's very serious, y'all. That we understand we're in a war zone, and we're gonna bring some things to the table that I had to say here from the BCLG. It's new for us and new for a lot of our members when I hit them with it, because it's gonna be heavy, and because this thing is no joke. We are in a warfare. We are in a war zone, and if you ain't fighting every day, you're a casualty in a war. But that again is coming in January, all the month of January. Welcome to the War Zone, the Spiritual Warfare Seminar that we'll be holding all of the month of January. Again, the career planning piece, those for your juniors and seniors that are expecting to go to college or even trade school, okay? So, again, please put Brother Mike McGuire had a death in his family in your prayers, and that his family is comforted and in that time of bereavement, okay? So at this time, brother, we're gonna go ahead and close out, and look forward to hearing from some of you guys in the question and answer room, in our forum, open forum. Like I said, it's an open forum, y'all. You got questions about whatever, and I do mean, now let me be fair, we're not talking about for contention's sake, but for understanding's sake, y'all, because the Lord said, with all your wisdom is the principal thing, but with all our getting, we get an understanding.